There are 25,000 old-age pensioners in Dundee, and most of them behave in the way that we've come to expect. For a good many of them, the high spot of the week is a visit to the local Old People's Club, where they sit quietly and patiently, waiting for lunch to be delivered by the local school meal service. You can fill in time with, say, a bit of gentle needlework, or perhaps a game of dominoes. That is, unless you're Mrs. Annie Sweeney. In a few weeks, she'll be 75, and she tends to be rather more active than her contemporaries. As far as anybody's been able to establish, Annie is the oldest holder of a karate black belt in Europe. And she could hardly have chosen a more demanding sport. It calls for strength, stamina, flexibility, discipline, self-denial, and above all, self-control. What makes Annie even more remarkable is that she didn't take up karate until she was very nearly 70. After her children had grown up and left home, she lost her husband, and that left her with time on her hands. Time she wasn't prepared to devote to knitting and dominoes. Every week since then, she's gone through at least one exhausting 3-hour training session, so that now she neither gets nor expects any concessions because of her age. At the outset, of course, she was just a bit nervous about applying for membership of the club.
Well, I didn't think it'd be very welcome at that age, 69. And I told him I really fancied it. He said, go up the stair and have a watch. So he said, well, just you go right up then. So I went up on the Wednesday. Since that, I've been there every time.
But how did you feel after that first lesson?
Very sore.
Did you think about giving it up there and then?
Sometimes I did, yes, I did. But determination kept me on, because it's been very good to us. That really keeps you right.
But some of your friends must have thought you'd gone out of your
very
mind.
silly. Oh, going at your age, Annie. Don't think you'll ever get in. So here's what's happened.
Did you go to your own doctor and ask his advice about doing this? Because you were nearly 70 then, weren't you?
I was 70, certainly, when I went up. Almost 70. I have a son, a doctor. He knows what he's talking about.
But what did your doctor say?
And my doctor, nothing. He just says, if you enjoy Annie, carry on. Yes! Yes!
In fact, Annie enjoys it so much that in addition to the normal training, she takes private lessons once a week from her instructor, Paul, just to make sure she keeps in trim. And when that's over, she uses up any surplus energy by cleaning the club from top to bottom.
Yes!
How do you think that the youngsters here look on you? Because you're old enough to be most of their grandmothers.
And great-grandmothers. They never pay attention. They're in a different class altogether. You understand that? I'm only here for the exercises now.
But you do take on much younger people than yourself, don't you?
For fighting. I believe I can manage myself. I'll never get murdered up here.
Now, suppose somebody were unwise enough to try to snatch your handbag from you in the street.
They'd be awful sorry. Really, they would.
What would you do to them?
Well, I would do some of the karate punches. Certainly. I know what I'm doing. I wouldn't lose control, but they would have to go off the floor.
Would you worry much about whether it was a man or a big man?
I wouldn't worry about anybody.
Clearly, Annie Sweeney, in spite of weighing just under 8 stone, is not a lady to tangle with. But could any old-age pensioner follow her example?
At my age?
Or a little younger?
Well, maybe younger, maybe over 60, but at 74, if they've never done exercise or any other thing, I don't think they'd be able.
Or take somebody of 65, say.
Well, certainly, yes, providing she's a smart woman and does exercises. This is not the only exercise I do.
In between karate sessions, private tuition and cleaning the club, Annie turns up at Dundee's new swimming baths at least twice a week. She's been a swimmer all her life, and now her greatest pleasure is teaching youngsters free of charge. It's not at all unusual for her to be giving lessons and taking karate lessons herself, all in the same day. If you ask Annie how long she can keep up this frantic activity, her answer's simple: until she drops. But somehow you get the feeling that that isn't going to happen.